All right. I can see chat. All the cameras are up and running. Everything is working seemingly. Let's see how this goes. How's everybody doing tonight? What's going on? There's a little bit of a delay. So if you comment something and I don't speak up right away, it's just internet connection is all. So I was just thinking about something I wanted to talk about. Now I did want to talk about my video from this morning. I did want to mention that in the stream. Wasn't the first thing. There was something else that I was thinking about. I was like, oh, I should talk about that while I'm on stream. And now, of course, I can't think about it. Or I can't recall what it was. So anyway, for those of you who don't know, my name's Sean. I run mailworks.com. I design and sell chainmail themed apparel and accessories. And I make chainmail. And over the course of the last 2 weeks now, I'm in the middle of using up all the rings in my basement before I get more rings and start on the next chapter of my chainmail journey, right? So I had these are 16 gauge 3/8 rings that I'm using here, right, for these chains. To give you here's an example. The rings I'm using are much larger than the rings I used to make this cube, right? So, just to give you a bit of perspective on what size they are, I had a bunch of them that I ordered a long time ago, and I didn't have any reason to order them. I ordered a bunch of different ring sizes, all of them without any plans on what to do with them, and it got me a bunch of ring sizes that I had no plan for, just laying around for a long time. So the other day I decided I wanted to make a dragon scale pine cone. It's a little chainmail pine cone sculpture, but I wanted to use small rings to make big rings, and then I would use that as my rings for the pine cone. But what ended up happening is that the weave I wanted to use, this is called Sandwyrm. It's just the name of the weave. It was not as rigid as I had remembered, and so the pine cone was out. Hey babe, how you doing? The pine cone was out, and I was like, okay, well, I've made these rings, and I don't know what to do with them, but they kind of look like they'd be perfect for a cube, right? And so, initially, I had a lot more of this done, but... Hey, Rafiki, how you doing? Going to the neighbors? They're having a water fight. Have fun, babe. So initially these rings that I made were just a skosh too big, and this weave is made up of a full Persian core, it's just the name of the weave, and a box weave along the outside, right? So inside this chain is this one. Does that make sense? Inside the larger chain here is this full Persian chain. And the rings were just a skosh too big. And so I took them all apart. I took the outside box weave off because the new rings that I ordered that are in this bin over here are shinier and more polished than the old batch of rings that I started with. So I did have other more important projects to finish, but now it's like, okay, I'm going to finish this project. So as of this moment, there are 13 rings done. 13 rings done in this piece right here. Right, this is the base layer of a 3x3 Ringception cube, and that I've started, and then I have 89 of these cores of full Persian. I got a small pile of them here and a big pile of them here. Some loose rings over here to finish up, and then thank you for the dinos. How you doing, Rebecca? So I am just finishing up the internal portion of these rings, and then I will be 3/8 of the way done. I still have to do the external portion of all these rings and then put them all together. So that's what I'm going to be working on. But anyway, how are y'all? How's everybody doing? What's going on? How was your Saturday? Hope you had a good weekend. Why am I doing this? So this is a large chainmail sculpture that I'm making. Essentially, the original goal was to use up rings and finish up like all the projects in my basement. But the larger goal is to make several large chainmail sculptures and then hopefully do a art gallery exhibit at some point. How you doing, Lala? So other chainmail artists make necklaces and earrings and bracelets, and I do that too. I've made a few inlays myself. Other people are much better at it. And, you know, since my pine cone sculpture didn't work out, I'm still going to make one. I've decided to make a enormous jelly cube. I'm unique? Well, thank you. It is pretty rare that you meet someone who makes chainmail in general. In the Facebook groups that I'm a part of, the largest chainmail group only has 15 or 16,000 people in it. And so it's still a pretty niche hobby. But it is growing. More and more people get interested every day, and I like to think that over the last couple months of streaming, I've helped a few people start their chainmail journey. But it's not a large community as compared to, say, like quilters or people who crochet or people who knit. Those groups have millions of people in them. Yes, I have. What? Oh, helped people start their chainmail journey? Right on. That is one half of why I do this. So the other half is I run my website, mailworks.com, and I design and sell chainmail themed apparel and accessories. So I introduce people to chainmail, they become obsessed with it, and they want to decorate their whole house in it, and then they come to my store and they buy stuff. That's how it works. It's my marketing plan. All right. So I've got 5 more of these to make, plus this one that I'm working on right now. And that'll be all the internal parts of the ring, or the rings. Let me turn the song down just a little bit. But, all right, for anyone who is here because of my video this morning, I wanted to talk about that. There was a goldsmith who came into my comment section and told me that what I was doing was a waste of time, and that he's a goldsmith. So he's like appealing to his authority as a goldsmith to tell me that what I was doing was a waste of time. Now, what I was doing was it was a video about this cube, right? And I don't usually respond to hateful comments, right? Because I don't care. There's nothing you can say to me that hasn't already been said to me. I was in the Army for 7 years. I deployed twice. I was a nurse. I am a nurse. I've seen people in every condition you can every condition of vulnerability you can imagine, from perfectly healthy to passing from this mortal plane, right? I am not an angsty teenager raging on the internet. So whenever a layman comes into my comment section and is like, oh, well, that's dumb, ha ha ha, I was like, whatever, you know, you don't know anything, so it's fine. But this was a professed artist, and when artists go into other artists' comment sections and talk smack with no constructive criticism, nothing positive coming out of the interaction, I have an issue with that. Not because I can't take what they have to say, but because who else are they saying stuff like that to, right? And I don't care what your hobby is, crochet, knitting, chainmail, leatherworking, carpentry, whatever, right? When someone comes in, claims to be a artist with some kind of authority behind their name, and just takes a deuce all over what you're doing, and you're like brand new to the hobby or your art or whatever, that bugs the ever-loving crap out of me. Because if they'll say it to me, who else are they saying it to? You know? Does that make sense? Joke's on you, bro. We can get gold rings and even titanium rings. Yeah. My other stream is lagging. They all lag. My streaming setup sucks. I've got, when Yeetus says the other streams, I'm multi-platform streaming right now. Why and what are you wearing on your hand? I'm wearing a arm brace to help ward off carpal tunnel as I weave 16,000 rings together. How you doing, Deborah? So it's merely a preventative measure to avoid being injured or giving myself a repetitive motion injury. It's just a hand brace. You can get them from like CVS or something. I find that if you're going to weave chainmail, though, I have another hand brace for my right hand, and it's got a big pad on the palm, and that makes it so that I can't like grip pliers. I need to go and find a different one because this takes both hands, and I need both hands to not be injured. So, think you need one? I don't know. I'm of the opinion that if you work with your hands at all, I definitely have some kind of arm brace so that when you're not doing whatever you're working on, you can just put the brace on, go about your daily business, because it's not worth getting injured. So you got to ask, what should you use and what gauge for aluminum making your own rings for your own armor? 16 gauge 1/4 inch aluminum rings will make some fine costume armor. 16 gauge 5/16 is a little too easily torn apart. It'll work. From playing June's Journey. What is June's Journey? Hey Astrid, how you doing? Is June's Journey a video game. Because you can hurt your thumbs. You can get Nintendo thumb. It's a real thing from playing too many video games. Or if you get like, if it's a PC game and you got you can get carpal tunnel from using the controllers. That's an absolute real thing. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So, but yeah, if you're an artist, don't go into other artists' comment sections and dump on them. Either provide constructive criticism or just walk away. Okay, I see a lot of new chainmail artists come in and make something that everyone has made, and it's a starting point, and it's kind of crappy. And you know what? I give them a thumbs up and say good job. I'm not going to try and ruin their day, because I've been doing this for 28 years, and I've woven over 2 million rings together, and you know what I mean? What kind of snips? You tried using mini bolt cutters, you've never had good luck with them? I mean, I've never cut aluminum. I've cut galvanized steel with the mini bolt cutters. With these ones. But I've never cut aluminum. I don't know what good snips are. That was so crazy. Yeah, this morning it was just like some random person overnight didn't have their coffee. I woke up to this comment, and it's like, if you are a goldsmith and you're using that as your appeal to your own authority, that means that you have worked in the industry of working gold projects for over a year, probably for over a decade. So you should know better by that point. And the fact that I needed to say something is just bizarre. Am I from KC? Hey, anonymous human, how you doing? No, where I live currently. I'm from Idaho, the land of potatoes. Yeah, I went to Kansas City once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 20. Oh, did I just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. Little too much there. So, everybody check on your family members from those freaking tornadoes. I had a friend out in Iowa get hit. Okay, you're curious because you do content in KC based around art, music, as entertainment, and food, everything. Yeah, you checked on your people? Good. I went to go check on my aunt who lives in Iowa, and she had just posted something like a couple hours before. And she's posted since then, so she's okay. I'll check in on her later. You're curious because you content KC based around art, music, entertainment, and food. And if you were from KC, you'd ask if you could interview me. Right on. Very cool. Very cool that you do that. One of the things that I wanted to do was what am I doing here? I wanted to start an interview thing where I went and I talked with people who do craft stuff. Leather workers, woodworkers, wood turners. You know, how did you start? What are you making? Where do you sell your stuff? What's your favorite? Stuff like that. But I never had the opportunity to set it up, right? Yeah. So that's cool. Had family heading to Tulsa. Okay. Ren fairs be a great place to do that. Interview people. Yeah. Maybe I'll do like a man on the streets thing at my local Renaissance festival. I'll get one of my chainmail onesies. Go to the Renaissance festival. The problem is that Bristol, the Renaissance festival we have nearby, you gotta go on the right day, because if you don't, you're gonna die. If it's hot and the humidity's up, because we're like right off the lake, yeah. It's badass. You got a couple of glass blowers in line with your interviews? Yeah, perfect. See, that's great. I love it already. It's like, so because I haven't been able to do that, I try to like share as much chainmail art from my other friends as I can, just because no one is giving them exposure, right? Except for their friends and family and their audiences that they've built up, right? We typically don't make the news. Our videos don't go viral or anything. It's just, it's our little community, and I think that sharing it helps introduce other people to chainmail, and it promotes my friends, and one day maybe I will be able to set up my own little interview show, but I forget what I was going to call it. I had a really terrible name for it. Kansas City Renaissance Festival is a great place to interview people. I haven't been to Kansas City Ren Fest. Yeah, it's KCRF is Kansas City Renaissance Festival. There's a local blacksmith group, all volunteer. They do historic arts and such. Right on. We should do a chainmail meetup. Kansas City Ren Fair. Yeah, it's in September, October. That's a much better time. Yeah, there you go. You should interview Astrid. She's plenty skilled as a chainmail artist and does excellent stuff. If I were interviewing people, I would love to interview her. But, Astrid, be careful meeting strange people from the internet. All right, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Haven't been to Kansas City Renaissance Festival. Need to go. Oh, chainmail meetup. I've been to a couple chainmail meetups. Most of them were okay. There was a large one called the Chain Link Up down in Florida that I tried to make it to, and it ended up that I could not go. It's also a very long way away from me, but there's also a new shop downtown that has chainmail artist, Crossroad Comics and Art. Oh, right on. Right on. As the chainmail niche gains more people, right? More people show up and they bring all their ideas and it gets better. Here's the reality, right? One chainmail artist is not, you're physically limited by how much you can weave, period. You're one person, you got two hands, you can only open and close so many rings in a 24-hour period. Am I in a chain gang? Just, the Mailworks chain gang. Just the best chain gang on the planet where we make chains all day long. What was I saying? I was saying something about something. there are physical limitations to how much an individual chainmail artist can weave in a given period, right? And that's just, it is what it is. So no one chainmail artist is going to make astronomical amounts of chainmail that would ever be enough for the demand for chainmail that is out there, right? There's a ton of demand. People love chainmail, and it's tactile. It's fun to play with. It feels cool. It's fun to make, right? And it's just like any other hobby or craft or skill, right? Like, you are only limited by your imagination as to what you can make. Astrid does do chainmail work as well. She's quite talented. How much do the chain link cubes cost? For one that is for sale, you would have to talk to Astrid there in the comments. As for how much they cost, the one I just held up is not for sale. And if I were to go and sell it, I would have to be offered a pretty large price for it. If you were to commission it, right, 18,000 rings, I mean, you're looking at like minimum of $3,000 for a cube this size. Smaller ones are much more affordable. My dang nose. So, anyway. Plenty of cubes that are like 5x5 and 7x7 that are affordable, and they're fun. This cube, for anyone watching who's curious as to why anyone would spend a bunch of money on a cube so large, and easily over 100 hours at this point. Thank you. I have a rubber band ball that is approximately 5.5 inches in diameter, right? And it is dying. All the rubber bands are drying out, and I made it several years ago, and while it still sits in a slightly humid, cool basement all the time and not exposed to sunlight, the rubber bands are breaking down, right? So I was like, let me make a cube to replace the rubber band ball, because people like to grab the rubber band ball and play with it at the bar down here in the basement. So I was like, let me replace it with something that's not going to break down. So I started, let's see here. 8 months ago, it had 11 rows on each side. My most viral video, the 1.9 million, had 14 rows on each side, and now we're at 15 rows on each side. And I'm trying to get to 20 rows on each side. So, it's so funny too. So many people are like, because I say in the large viral video, it's 14 by 14 by 14 rows. And I did misspeak in the video. I said 16,000 rings, but it's only 14,000, right? I was only off by 2,000. And people keep going, oh, 14 by 14 by 14 is only 2,744 rings. Your math is wrong. And 14 by 14 by 14 is the number of rows. And that's how we talk about cubes in the chainmail community. And it's not a measure that you would use to find volume. It's not a metric for finding volume, which is X times Y times Z, right? So I have typed out the explanation for why the number of rings is currently sitting at 18,299 as of right now in that cube. And I've typed out the formula for cubes, and it's just like, no matter how many times I type it out, people still pop up and like, oh, your math's wrong. It's like, no, it's not. And I have to be nice about it, right? Because people don't know. Ugh. It is what it is. It's fine. I'll get over it. Next time I make a video, though, I'm going to explain that whole process, right? So that people aren't coming at me in the comments. And here's the thing, too, right? Like, even if we map out 15 by 15 by 15, right? Whatever that number is. 3,000 something. With a cube like that, no math is wrong. That's right. Here's why that doesn't work, right? We know how many rings are in an ounce. There's about 704 rings per ounce in this ring size. Okay? There are 26 ounces in this cube. It's 1 pound, 10 ounces. Times 700, or it was, right? What is 1 pound? What is 26 times 700? Nope, don't search there. I should just start pulling up my calculator before I even open up the stream. 26 times 700. It's 18,200. So that's really close. Actually, let's see if we can get closer. Clear. 26 times 704. Yeah, perfect. So 26 ounces at 704 rings an ounce is 18,344. The formula gets you 18,299 rings. So that's a 5-ring difference between the math and the weight, right? And I'd say that the math should be more accurate. But no, I don't want to do a male party tonight. It gets like distracting because we're not, like, I'm not wearing headphones. People end up talking over each other too much. We will plan one. I would also like to use the live studio for that. So you just let me know when you got some free time this week, and we'll have ourselves a hangout. One, because I need to use the live studio software for TikTok, but also I'm streaming on 5 different platforms right now. So you can talk over here, and then it gets picked up by the microphone over here, and then people watching can view it, and you understand? You got studio as well? Right on. You've also got it written down for your cubes. First time you've written an equation since high school. You don't use the aspect ratio equation at all? Whatever that one is, I don't even remember. All right, my laundry room door is open. Can you all hear my washer machine? Is it loud enough? Yeah, I definitely want to do more group stuff, more group hangouts, but the issue is the way my streaming is set up is not conducive to that. And I've done it, I've done it before, and then I've had some complaints that people couldn't. I already have complaints that people can't follow along with comments because I have all my TikTok comments over here and all the rest of the comments from 4 other platforms over on my computer. And once I get to 10,000 followers, I'll be able to use Live Studio on Streamlab. And I'm currently sitting at 8,200. So I got 1,800 followers to go. And then I'll get a stream key. And so soon, it's coming. It's soon. Please, yes, 2,000. 2,000 likes. That'll be much appreciated. Oh, hey, you said 1/4 inch. That's inner diameter. 16 gauge, 1/4 inch inner diameter. Makes a good, hefty 4-in-1 for armor. And being aluminum, 16 gauge at that size is pretty decent. That is American wire gauge. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're very welcome. I mean, and that's, just my preference. I had a blackened stainless steel shirt in the works, but because I could no longer get any more black and stainless from the Ring Lord, I cannibalized it for my motorcycle project. 1.3. Let's go. Alrighty, gotta go do your thing. Alright, man, I appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. Okay. Oh, okay. Earlier on, I was trying to think of what I had mentioned. You've got a different style of cube, you think, because the numbers were way off? So, if you go to the Jelly Cube calculator, do you have that Excel sheet? Okay. So that's what I'm basing it off of. There's a toggle on one side for offset cubes. And that might change your numbers around a little bit. Thank you for the heart. Appreciate you, Yeetus. Also, all of the math could be way off because... Well, no, it can't be because I just did the math for the weight. So... Okay, so what formula are you using? Because I used, and this isn't my formula or anything, but there are two out there. It's 6n cubed plus 9n squared plus 3n, where n equals, right, if this is 15 by 15 by 15, n would equal 14, because it's 14 completed rows, and then the 3n is that last half row, from what I understand. There's comment sections that are tens of thousands of comments long debating over what the equation is for figuring out a cube, the number of rings in a cube. His cube is, and perfection, no, math is off. It is an awesome cube, right? The fun thing about these is that I thought, okay, I'm going to make it bigger and it's not going to be as fun, but it's not the case. They're ridiculous. So I've got another 1.25 inches on each side to expand it, and then it'll be done. Alrighty. We hit 2,000. Right on. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. All right. Okay, so the thing that I remembered that I was going to tell you guys about. So once upon a time, I was enrolled in a college class, and I went one day. And it was snowy outside, and Boise, where I grew up, always had no problems clearing the main roads, right? But where I lived was off a side road in the poor parts of town, and that was not plowed. And I was driving my friend's like 1957 Thunderbird, so it's a tank, right? And I came off the main road, and I was turning, right? And as soon as the front tires hit the snow of the unplowed street, right, I couldn't turn anymore. My car just went straight into a parking lot of a mechanic that had a shop at the end of the street I lived off of. And I plowed into it. Couldn't stop the tank of a vehicle, right? And Astrid, is that the formula you have? Where A is A being the height and B being 1 less, yeah. Yeah, like I said, there are tens of thousands of comments going over the math, and I can only explain it to the point where, 15 by 15 by 15 is not the number of rings. That's all I got. So I don't know. So anyway, hey Hillbilly Customs, how you doing? That's from counting rings for a few hours. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. You just woke up? Right on. So, I drive this tank of a Thunderbird into the side of this car. And let the mechanic know, right? He calls the customer. The customer can't get down there right then. I go back when the customer can be down there to exchange information. The customer calls the cops. The cop gives me a ticket for abandoning a crash site. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I thought that I would leave and then come. Like, I wasn't going to stay there the 18 hours or day and a half, whatever it was, in order for the customer to show up for their wrist. Is the wrist acting up? I mean, always, yeah, but this is more because I've woven. What do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 14, 15, 16, 17. What's 17 times 80? Clear. 17 times 80. It's 1,360 rings plus what I'm working on right here. So 1,440. All stainless steel. So I'm just wearing the brace to prevent it from getting, anything. It's okay though. More than 3, yeah. Zillakami, how you doing? So yeah, this the customer calls the police. Police comes down, gives me a ticket, right? And my friend's dad finds out the customer's name and recognizes her last name, and made a few phone calls. Come to find out that the customer's husband had worked for my friend's dad in his warehouse. He worked at a distributor selling beer and water, so like import beers, microbrews, and waters like Fiji and Snapple and a couple other drinks. And the customer's husband, the customer whose car I hit, her husband had apparently been stealing tens of thousands of dollars of pallets of beer out the back of the warehouse. And so shortly after that was all discovered, right? I went to court and got my ticket expunged, and I didn't have to pay the insurance. Excuse me. Excuse me. I didn't have to pay the insurance on the car I'd hit, right? Their premium or whatever it is. Because apparently the guy who had stolen tens of thousands of dollars worth of beer had never been charged formally. And since the husband didn't want to piss anyone off, they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. We're good. Zillikami, you're doing pretty good. That's good to hear. Ethan, how you doing? Carpal tunnel, all the time, every day, always. It's more of a preventative measure, but these are 16 gauge rings, and they're not the lightest work. So, and these are, you know, I thought these were bad when I started working with them. My hands have kind of gotten used to these. The rings in this bin over here, the ones that go all around the outside of these chains, these are spring steel, and they are a huge pain to deal with. So I've got a ton of them here to weave, and oh, I'm not looking forward to it. All right, did we do our count right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. 91. I've got 91 of these full Persian chains. These are the inside of the sandworm weave, right? And so all of these rings are going on the outside. I need 4 more core chains, and I will have 95 total. And that'll be almost halfway done. So that's what I'm working on tonight. Last night, we did get a couple rings done, and we're able to put this together. We got the base layer of the jelly cube started, and hopefully it will be nice and rigid. And I thought about adding some, what do you call them? Stainless ball bearings, but because of the way it's designed, this won't hold them because of the way it's designed. I would need to add another layer to it. So we will have to hope that by reducing the initial rings that I made by 1 unit, that will hold everything nicely in place. All right. Yep. Put a bowling ball in there. Johnny Danger, how you doing? All right. No, when I first started working on it, it was a little too loose. And so, like, some movement is fine, but it being a, like, it's not a fidget toy, it's a sculpture, right? So I don't want it to move around like your standard jelly cube as much. A little movement's fine, but a whole lot less movement than what it initially had. Johnny, what are you up to? So, due to, if I tried to make these rings any tighter, right, they would start just opening up on themselves. So this is as rigid as I'm going to be able to make it. And it should still have some movement, but just a whole lot less. It was just kind of sloppy and falling over. You're watching me be awesome? Thanks. I try. It's like I had a story. I don't normally plan out what I'm going to talk about on stream. I just get on here and start blabbing. Sometimes I do have something I want to talk about. Like today I wanted to talk about my video from this morning lambasting some poor unsuspecting midwit who makes disparaging comments on people's posts. Right? So I did want to talk about that because that's just not appropriate behavior. But then I had a whole story planned for you guys that I just told. And initially, it was going to be like my opening story, you know? And I completely forgot what it was I wanted to tell everyone. But then I finally remembered. And now we all know that don't steal beer out of the back of the warehouse, because one day someone who works at that warehouse might smash into your car and you'll have to pay for it. That was the moral of the story. Don't steal. All right. I'm wondering, I have this pile of, this is the old batch of rings I have left. I don't think there's 240 rings here, which is good because this project will have used up all the old rings, right? So we'll see. I hope so far the new rings that I purchased that are all in here match closely enough to the old rings, right? So it shouldn't be an issue if I have to weave some full Persian out of the spring steel. There's plenty of it. By my math, and there's 95 of these big rings in this cube, right? There's 95 of these. And so there are 168 rings apiece, and so that's just a few rings under 16,000, right? It was 176 rings per unit, and because I sized it down, I removed 8 rings, 168 times 95, it's like 15,900 and something. What do I craft from chainmail? What have I done? Been working on this cube for a while, right? I'm currently working on a large version where all the rings in the cube are made up of smaller rings, right? I need to check this closure right here because that is stabbing me. Where's the quality control on this? Good Lord. Okay, that's better. I've done a lot of wine bottle wraps and a couple beer bottle wraps and belts, guitar straps, necklaces, dice bags, bracelets, all kinds of stuff. All right, you able to make it? Space Traveler, how you doing? All right, Space Traveler, is it for a dog or a human? Because I don't work with animals, and that kind of stuff is not something I have experience in. And didn't I point you towards someone who would... yeah. So, Links Kinks and Chainmail on TikTok, right? They're in that industry, and they would be a much better person to ask for something like that. You should make mail armor with the late friend of yours. Right on. I've got a couple chainmail shirts I've made. My motorcycle vest is covered in chainmail. I've got chainmail on one of my saddlebags, and on the other saddlebag it's almost done being connected, but so anything and everything that I can think of. I've been doing it for a really long time, so like I have an extensive list of stuff that I've done. Certainly not everything, and not everything I've made has been, good. I've made a lot of crap. But, all part of the learning process. I am going to get to a point where after I get done tearing apart my shirts, I've got 2 shirts that I'm going to tear apart. And they're going to get a lining. They're going to get pockets. They're going to get trim around the edges. They're going to be changed into jackets and with buckles up and down the front. and they're going to get fur trim around the collar and the sleeves and the hem, and you know, like they're going to give off like medieval mob wife vibe is what I'm going for. So once I'm done with that, then I plan on making some more shirts, riveted shirts with some cool rings. But that's a ways away. You're thinking about getting back into the work? I love doing what I do, and I highly encourage anyone to make chainmail, just because, you know, you can make whatever you want. It's just a matter of experience and know-how. Like, I didn't know how to attach chainmail to my saddlebags until I did it. You know what I mean? Now I know. So I highly encourage it. Built a whole app for people getting started. Did I pick a spot for the sign yet? No, I haven't. Should I put it right here? I should put it right here, huh? That'd be cool. Like, most of the rest of my walls down here is... I got all my artwork up down here. I got Legend of Zelda right there. Pirate Queen wood cutout that I got from a hobby shop or a craft shop in my town. I've got 3 Frank Frazetta lithographics, and if you don't know who Frank Frazetta is, he's a painter. He's like the start of all science fiction fantasy painting. Before Boris Vallejo, before, I forget the other guy's name. And so I've got 3 lithographics from him. I've got the Egyptian Queen, Death Dealer, and the Princess and the Jaguar. Right? Those are 3 of my favorites. Oh, what happened to my chat? Have we been going for an hour and now it's going to kick me out? What happened? That was weird. Are you guys still there? Can you guys see me? Okay, there's the comment section. For some reason, my comment page that I watch over here on the computer clicked over to someone else's live. Okay. That was weird. You had to refresh. It's getting pretty glitchy. Okay, you said make armor with a late friend of yours. Sign might go here. Thinking about getting into it, yeah. Late friend was your mentor. Okay, you can see me and we're chatting and whatnot. I don't know what happened there. That was weird. But anyway. Thought it was your internet because of the storms? Yeah, those storms are crazy. I had some friends that were caught in those. So they are okay, but, you know, that storm is heading my direction. We're supposed to be getting some rough storms tonight. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. I'm so close to 10,000. I can feel it. Feel it in my bones. We're going to hit 10,000 soon. A lot sooner than I ever thought. Right? Like, I started streaming on TikTok like in October of last year. And it took me several months to get to 1,000, to even get to go live, right? And I suck at making videos, and I'm not very entertaining, right? Which is why I prefer to live stream. Planning out skits is not my forte. My editing skills are terrible, and so me trying to make videos of like me making stuff, yeah, no, I'm bad at it. You do get better with it over time. I'm not as terrible as I once was, but I'm much more prone to just like turn on my camera and talk than I am to try and, you know, make a fancy video. Change a little more. Supposed to hit KC tonight. Well, stay safe. So it took me forever to get to 1,000, and the climb to 10,000 seemed so far away. And then I had a video that I had made like a month prior. It had gone nowhere, and then all of a sudden it just started taking off. So you wish you were as good as Astrid? Like, seriously, her videos, I get it. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Jacob. Are you still hanging out? Putting your animation degree to good use. There you go. Would I ever sell the cubes? I mean, for the right price, but this one is a personal project. I plan on keeping it, and I'm going to make it out another 1.25 inches on each side, so it'll be quite large. But if you're looking for a cube, Lev, right above you is Astrid. She makes cubes and is set up to take custom requests, whereas I'm not. And so if you want a cube, Astrid is the person to talk to. All right, Jacob, if you're still in here and you want to get back into the hobby, have I got a deal for you? In the link tree in my bio is the Mailworks app. It's a free app I designed for veteran and new chainmail artists. It's got lists of all the resources I would have wanted when I first got started making chainmail nearly 3 decades ago. There's a ton of stuff in there, and I'm building out more of it as we speak. Right? Yeah, Astrid can do colors and patterns and does a whole bunch of cool stuff. She's an excellent chainmail artist. I'm like color deaf, and so I don't know when 2 colors go together or not. And yeah, it's I just try to stick with stainless and titanium and sterling and okay, there's the puzzle key coming. You have the worst imposter syndrome? No, you're good, Astrid. You're a solid chainmail artist. Okay, give me the puzzle piece. Come on, TikTok. There we go. Verify that I'm still streaming. Where was I? Yeah, so the Mailworks app got all the resources I would have ever wanted when I got started a long time ago, like where to find suppliers, where to find tutorials, where to find other chainmail artists online, and I'm trying to build it out a lot more. I need to contact Zlosk to add a link to the irregular grid painter program for people. And let's see here. They look so meticulous too. You would get lost in the amount of rows. You love how it doesn't lose shape. Yeah, this one's fun. Let me wiggle my cube. My views are low. Let me wiggle my cube. I think imposter syndrome comes from... I think imposter syndrome is just a thing, right? Because, okay, I'm a, what's the word? I'm okay at streaming. I have an okay streaming setup. There are plenty of people who are much better at it than me, right? Why would anyone sit here and watch me open and close rings over and over again, right? I don't know, but people do. And like the more you do it, the less imposter feeling you go away, right? However, I do try to keep in the forefront of my mind that there are many chainmail artists who are much better at this than me, who have forgotten more about chainmail than I will ever know. And as long as I don't get too uppity about it, then, you know, my imposter syndrome doesn't feel too bad, you know? So I do appreciate you all hanging out. Have I ever thrown the jelly cube? Not that one. It's aluminum, and so these are small rings, right? Like, you're not going to be able to rip it apart with your hand, but if you throw it hard enough at something, you could probably damage the cube. I have a stainless steel one that's probably 2 pounds and about the size of a baseball. That's, you know... Yours is from trauma? Yeah. But no, I've never thrown the cube. All right. Is Hillbilly Custom still in here? Is he hanging out? So, Hillbilly Customs is sending me a package, and I'm sending him one. But I went to the post office today because the post office website said closes at 3. And I was like, on a Saturday? That seems weird, but okay. And I didn't really think twice about it. I wasn't able to leave the house until about 2. Anyway, right? I get to the post office, and their door says they close at 11:30. So, I will have to send his package out on Monday. Actually, I have 2 packages to send out. Alright, maybe 3 if I can get in contact with a customer who wanted something for me that I have all made up for him. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. So, that was about the highlight of my day. Driving to the post office. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Count out some range here. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There we go. All right. Yeah. Pretty good. Where are we at? Let me count these out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We've done that many? What's 18 times 80? Clear. 18 times 80. 1440. Okay, no, that's correct. Okay. I needed 22. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. 18 right here. All right. So close. So close. Then we start adding the outside. it's like we have 13 rings done, so that's 82. 95 minus 13 is 82. 82 rings to finish. I remember a time before I took my cube apart when I had like 40 rings done. But it'll be worth it to have torn it all apart and rebuilt it in the long run. It will be a better piece for it. All right. Wasn't anything else I did today. The neighbors did come over. They were hanging out for a minute. But tomorrow, we'll see how my wrists feel. Should be fine, right? You'd think. But here's the issue. My kid missed 2 days of school last week. And so he's got 2 days worth of homework on the table. So I don't know how much I'm going to get done. I can just take this upstairs, right? And sit there and weave while he does his homework. I don't know if that's going to be worth it just because of, you know, there'll be a lot of interruptions as he asks what he's got to do and whatnot. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I get to sit and do homework with my kiddo tomorrow. And, you know, of course, feed them. You got to feed your kids. At least that's what they tell me. And if you don't feed them, they start whining. I'm hungry. My kid's taken to... He won't tell us when he's hungry, right? He's old enough to get like a bowl of cereal or to make a bagel with some cream cheese on it. And so I'll come up from downstairs knowing that like the sink was empty of dishes before I went downstairs, and there'll be a bowl with some milk and leftover cereal in it. And it's like, all right, well, I'm glad he ate something. I'll ask him if he wants lunch, and he'll be like, no, I just ate. I just had a bowl of cereal and then whatever else he ate. And it's like, well, okay then. I was planning on feeding you, but I'm glad you're gaining independence. He does end up going through all the milk and cereal before I'm ready to go back to the grocery store again. So I don't like going to the grocery store. I try to avoid it, but we'll run out of milk and cereal because that's all he'll eat if we let him. Your kiddo started asking for bites every time you ask him what's going on, even if he isn't hungry. Nice. All right, we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah. Like, I'm glad my kid is gaining independence. It's, I try not to fight with him about it as long as he's doing, like, the right thing, you know? Like, if he fed himself, I can't really yell at him for that. I do tell him to, you know, if he's hungry, he can come get me, and I will make him some food, like eggs and bacon, because he gets hangry, and you've been teaching him how to ask for bites, so it's working, kind of. Nice. Do you do baby sign language with your kiddo at all? We did that for about 2 seconds. And what was it? More? Right? That was like the one all three of us got down. We all knew what more was. And then everything else was just lost. Yeah. That's good. I can see where it helps with some people, but we never... we were never real successful with it. It's like by the time we got down basic sign language, he was forming full sentences. And while you couldn't always tell what he was saying, you know, you'd get through it and he'd frustratingly walk you through what he's trying to say. Kids are hilarious. Yeah. The only thing my kid does, right? Like, he'll talk back every now and then. Okay? But other than that, he's a perfectly well-behaved kid. He does scream when he plays video games, but I assume that that's a pretty normal thing because I've seen other kids his age do the exact same thing. And he's getting better. He's gotten much better at that. But he has lately been deciding that he can download video games using his own money or try to buy Robux using his mom's debit card. And so he's done that a few times. And that's the one thing that's like, yeah, you're old enough to know better than to do that after you've been told no, but you've kept doing it. So that's being a 9-year-old boy. He says, I want to buy it, and does the sign, then immediately says, okay, which is yes for him. Nice. Right on. Oh, man. I think I'm going to run out of rings here. I need 160 for these two, a little less. I don't have it in that ring pile there. That's okay. We'll be all right. Time's at 9:20. We're doing pretty good. Just the fact that I will have gone through almost 22 of these strips. Right? 22 of these today is what I'll finish with here if I get to it. Like that makes me feel pretty good, right? That's a lot. That's almost 40, 1520, 1600, 1680. Yeah. You're learning hex weave with the proper aspect ratio? Right on. That's another one. I've made that on the computer. I've never made that in real life. I think I started one once and then decided to use the rings for something else. Oh, excuse me. But that's a fun weave. I've seen some people make some really cool stuff with it. With hex. That's the thing too, right? Is like when I tell people that I'm okay at chainmail, right? Like a cube is not a hard thing to make, right? To make a cube this large is largely a matter of just grinding it out, right? Especially once you get past 10 by 10, each of these sides is over 600 rings at this point. And every row is going to add, 75 to 100 rings. So, it's going to be 600 per side, 700 per side, it's just going to keep going up, right? But doing this is not hard. It's just continuing to apply work to it, right? Doing this. How much do you sell the small 5x5 chainmail cubes for? I don't sell them. How you doing, California legend? Is CA for California? And doing this, right? Making sandworm weave. right? That is not hard. I've just taken something simple and made it a little more complex, right? Legend, if you want a cube, the person commenting right above you, Astrid, does take requests and might have some cubes for sale already. She is set up for stuff like that, whereas I'm not, and she works in colors and patterns and makes cooler stuff than me. Anyway, what was I going on about? Yeah, I was going on about, like, I'm okay at this, right? Like, most of this is just a grind. Truly skilled chainmail artists, you know, that have, like I've mentioned before, that have forgotten more than I'll ever know. Like, tons of signal. All right, are we back? That may just be the storms. Can you guys see me? I see people. My screen went out on me again, and now I've lost all my comments. That's fine. So, I'm stuttering in and out. I'm gonna assume that that's the weather. I don't usually get complaints about TikTok. It's always okay. So when I'm on other platforms, it, like right now, it should be fine. There's no indications that I'm dropping frames or anything. Normally, my kid is inside playing video games, and that interferes with the signal from my computer right here. The phone usually doesn't have a problem, so I don't know why it's doing what it's doing, or why my computer is doing what it's doing, but whatever. Where are we at? 9:24. Hexweek is fine. You made with AR 3.5. You thought it was 3.3.0. Which one's optimal for hex? I don't know. I don't have a lot of ring sizes left. 3.0 is optimal for hex. Right on. I've worked through so many piles of rings making random stuff. Slowly finishing projects that are just laying around. Improving old projects. And like this project I'm working on now was a pile of rings that I decided to start working with. So my like backstock supply is waning, but soon, hopefully, I'll be all set up with everything I need to not only make my own rings, but do custom work and provide people with the objects they desire. Oh, I remember what I was saying. Okay. Gallery exhibits. My understanding is that if you want to fill a gallery exhibit if you want to fill a gallery in an art exhibit, right, it's best to go in with multiple pieces. It's best to have the dimensions of each piece and high-resolution photographs of each piece prior to you even asking them, right, or trying to get in. So all that's on top of making the items themselves. So that's going to be a new challenge for me, because having never done it, this being the first attempt at making a sculpture for sale out of chainmail that I plan on potentially exhibiting. We'll see how it turns out. It's an interesting process. You know? One of the things that I was thinking about, because I can do whatever I want, right? Some of these corner rings are gonna, they might have some sag to them. And so, even though I did shrink the rings down a little bit in order to make them fit a little better, be a little more rigid, like on all the rings on the outside, sometimes when you have a cube, right, and the rings are a little too big, you can add a ring to the edges or add a ring to one of the rows across the middle, and it'll actually, hang on. Oh, I will grab an example. Okay. So this cube is not doubled up, right? There are a lot of rings that are doubled up, like all the ones on the edges and on the corners and rows throughout each side, right? This is 16 gauge 3/16. I have a shirt made out of this in Trinity, and this was the leftover remains. This is one of the piles of rings that I didn't have anything to make out of it, right? But I doubled up all the rings on the edges, and it holds itself in much better shape. So one of the things I was thinking about is, when I get to a point where this is all built up, right, if it still sags too much, I can still add chains, smaller chains that, where I can't just double up the rings, right? Does that make sense? So we can make it a little more rigid and add some decoration to it to make sure it sits the right way. So I think in the end we should have a viable chainmail sculpture. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. But since I randomly decided to start this, okay. I didn't mean to start this project, because as I've mentioned, I was trying to make a dragon scale pine cone, but the sandworm weave was not as rigid as I remembered it to be. Excuse me. I'll still make a pine cone at some point. I just got to use a different weave and different ring size. So I stumbled onto making this cube, right? I have so many other things that I need to finish. The whole, make a bunch of sculptures for the gallery project. I wasn't intending to even start on that until, maybe the end of the year. But now I've got one. And now I'm like, okay, I want to do a bunch more. So I really need to get some of these other projects done so that I can work on this concept. And it may not work. It may not work. I might I might reach out and be like, hey, can we, do an exhibit? And I might get told no. We'll see. You had a phone call earlier. Did you answer? Oh, no. I have not picked the spot yet, but I was like, it would look really good right here. I was thinking about putting it there. There's a lot of, the rest of my wall space is pretty filled up. I was talking about some of the pieces that I have up there. Some Frazettas and some Pirate Queens and Legend of Zelda poster. So we'll see. So I've got... So I have one side of the basement filled up with my chainmail and artwork and stuff. And the bar's on this side, along with the laundry room. On the other side is an open space where there's like some weights and a rowing machine and some computer equipment and a bathroom. But, you know, there's a big column in the middle of it, so there's not a lot you can do over there on the other side of my basement. And in the middle of my basement is my furnace and water heater, right? It's a big piece. Yeah, I told you, I was looking at it and I was like, I'm getting the better end of this deal. So I'm excited. So yeah, the other side of my basement is bare. Furnace and water heater in the middle of the basement, taking up a bunch of usable space. But I wasn't here when the basement was finished. And so it just is what it is. Until I have the money to move everything around down here, it's just going to be, it is what it is, right? So, but I have all my artwork on this side, and the other side of the basement is bare. All the walls are bare. You can't wait for yours? Hey, I will get it. I will get it sent out ASAP. I don't know why I thought the post office would be open till 3 today, but that's what the website said, and the hours at this post office are really weird already, right? Like, their lunch is like an hour and a half, and so every time I go there during the week, it's like I'll go get my house cleaned up, get my dishes done, take the dog outside, do my work down here for a few hours, go to lunch, and then when I go, I'll try to go to the post office before I go grocery shopping to pick up my kid or whatever, and they'll be closed. They'll be at lunch. Like, I've gone there to send off a package at least 9 times, and they're at lunch. And it's not the only post office, but it's like the one in my area. So when I saw that it said it was open till 3, I was like, okay, sweet. And I didn't question it, just because their hours have been so weird before, But I should have known better. I should have known that they were going to be closed, because of course they are. No worries. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So, all right. I am glad, like, this is, I have 2 more strands of this to make, right? Right here. We'll probably just combine those into one. But this is all the rings I have left to make 2 more strands. Obviously not enough, right? But I'm glad, like, my coffee can is empty of rings. All the old rings I had are used up in this project. So that's very good. So, and I've got, I think this should be around 12,000 rings, right? So I will have some left over because I wasn't sure how many rings I was going to start with. Does that make sense? I didn't count up the old batch of rings. I just had an estimation. So, as I mentioned previously, the whole project is almost 16,000 rings. And I think I have about 6,000 of the old rings, maybe a little more. And actually, I can actually do the math on that. I have 95 core chainmail pieces, or close. 95 times 80. 7,600, clear. Oh, and I forgot something. Well, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I don't need to do it that way. Okay, so there are 7,600 old rings, 12,000 new ones. So that's 19,000. It's almost 20,000. So I'll have almost 4,000 extra rings, right? Which is fine. I'll figure out something else to do with them. It's like I can't return them because I opened up the bags they were in, but I may be able to pass them on through the trading group or find something else to do with them, which is the problem I started with. So I had rings I didn't know what to do with, so I don't know, we'll see. 16 gauge 3/8 at, that is 10.6 millimeter rings, inner diameter, make a nice half Persian 3-in-1 sheet 6. So maybe I'll do that. What is in my eye? I don't know. I'll figure out something. 4,000 extra rings is nothing to... Like, it's not nothing. You can definitely make a few things out of it. I don't know what, though. So, basically what I'm saying is I'm almost back to the point where I started, except now, what's going on here? My battery's full. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. Why is my screen darkened? It's weird. Huh. Weird things going on in the stream tonight. But where was I? Yeah, so do the math. I had 7,500 rings. I used them all up, and I have 12,000 left over. Or I have 12,000 new rings. So between these two batches of rings, I'll end up having roughly 4,000 rings left over. So I'm basically back to where I started before I began this project of trying to use up all the rings in my basement. All right, Hillbilly Customs, you have a good night. Appreciate you hanging out. Look forward to getting your order here and your stuff sent out. We are just done with this one. That makes... Oh no, I want this over here. 20 strands done today, right? So whatever 20 is times 800, that's 1,600 rings. 2 to go, and we're pretty much out of the old rings. Oh, okay. So, just finish up this pile of rings, I guess. Nothing else to do with it. You have a good night too, man. Oh my gosh, My corgi puppy is in a pen, and he is able to move it around. And normally he just hangs out in there, but when he gets riled up, he likes to move the pen around, or if he feels like he's left out, he moves his pen over to where he thinks he should be. And it is the loudest sound down here. Thank you for the roses. Appreciate you. How you doing, Sam? It's just my puppy banging his pen on the floor over and over again. And of course, you know, whenever you have someone running around upstairs or any movement, it sounds, you know, and you're in the basement, it sounds like a giant walking through your house. So all right, so tomorrow I'm hoping to get some of these strands of full Persian with the spring steel on the outside and get those woven into the cube. So I'd like to have a little bit more definition on this piece than what I've got right now. Right? Like just the base layer of this looks cool, you know? So I want to see more of this done soon. Got to keep working. Got to keep weaving these rings, right? There's no other way to get it done because the rings aren't going to assemble themselves, although sometimes I wish they would. You know, like the way Merlin in the Disney cartoon, The Sword and the Stone, packs up his belongings to move to the castle to train Arthur, right? Or how he gets the kitchen clean or whatever. I wish I had that skill so that these things would just come together super easy. And I could design a whole bunch of stuff really fast. It'd be a whole lot easier on my wrists, that's for sure. Currently trying to figure out Moorish rose. Any tips? Hey Lisa, how you doing? Make sure you have the right aspect ratio for Moorish rose. I have attempted that weave, and I attempted it while trying to do a stream, and so I was distracted. While I was doing it, but I don't think I had the right aspect ratio for that weave. Trying to think. I think Lisa Ellis might have a tutorial for it. I don't know. She goes by The Armorer's Wife on YouTube. And she has a couple of good tutorials. I don't know if she has Moorish rose. I was learning from a tutorial over off of chainmailers.com. And I got a couple of rings in the right place, but could not get them all. So I don't think I had the right ring size for it. That would be my first tip. Other than that, I've never managed to successfully make it. Yeah, the CGI one, or rather, chainmailers.com has a CGI one. So that's going to be a fun experience to nail down a few of the weaves that I've been talking about that I've never tried or never done. I mentioned earlier, I've done hex, hoodoo hex on the computer, but I've never done it in real life. So that'll be a fun one. Morse Rose, never done that one. Never done successful Kinged Vipera. I've never had the right rings for it. So I've done dozens of other weaves, just not a lot of them, you know, that have come out recently. Because I just haven't had the right ring size for it. There's a super good YouTuber who explained Hoodoo Hex. Right on. I'll get to it eventually, but I've ordered enough rings in my goal to use up all the rings in my basement. I need to not order more. But we all know that I keep saying that and that it's not going to happen. And that I'm just lying to myself over and over and over and to my viewers every night on stream. I say, I'm not going to order any more rings. And what do I have in my cart right now? 32 ounces of 18 gauge 1/8 rings for this cube. Oh, what else do I have in my cart? I've got okay, I did get a notification from the Ring Lord the other day that they had restocked something I was on the list for, right? And the coif I was working on, that, like, when I stopped working on it, it was kind of crappy. It needed a lot of work, but I didn't have enough rings to expand it out as far as I wanted. So the rings for that are back in stock. I'm just waiting to get paid for that one. We'll see. What else is in my cart? There's another ring size I wanted to order. I don't remember. That I needed to finish a project. All right. Look at that. Ugh, okay, I'm out of rings. Empty coffee can, out of rings. I'm going to throw these on here. And then we will have 93 and a half of these done. That'll give us some time. We got plenty of work to do before we are anywhere close to finishing, but we'll get there. I've only been working on this for like 2 weeks. Like, the only thing I posted to social media, aside from like the video this morning and my little ASMR, I wanted to do an ASMR video of me messing with these rings. And so outside of that, like, the only thing I've been recording or posting is streams, really. And I think that's all I posted for like 2 weeks now. Oh my goodness. All right. Okay, for anyone hanging out. Let me ask you this. My phone, like, went dim. Did the stream go dim for anyone watching? Thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. No, it's like normal. Okay, I don't know why my phone went dim. That's weird. Okay, so it has been about 2 hours now. My hands are pretty much done. I've been weaving all day. I've gotten this much done, which it's about 1,700 rings. 20.5 times 80. Yeah, almost 1,700. Something like that. So, my hands and wrists are hurting. But we have a whole lot of work to do. All these rings got to get woven. We got plenty of rings to make to add to our cube. Right? So, I'm looking forward to seeing more of this put together here pretty soon. Hopefully tomorrow I'll get some of this done and we can see this fleshed out a little more. I want to get it back at least up to where it was before I decided to rip it all apart. Okay. If you're new to chainmail and you see what I'm doing and you're like, holy crap, that's awesome. I want to learn how to do that too. In the link tree in my bio is the Mailworks app. In that app are the resources, all the resources I wish I would have had when I first got started making chainmail nearly 3 decades ago. It's not everything, but I keep putting more in there to try and make it a more useful resource for everyone. It's got lists of where to find suppliers for chainmail rings, where to find tutorials, where to find other chainmail artists and where they hang out online. A couple different tools for conversions. I'm adding a AWG, SWG conversion chart, and then something else, some other thing I had pulled up. The Jelly Cube calculator. I'm going to put that in there. I want to try and add a link to the Zlosk IGP program so that people can make inlays. I got to talk to Zlosk about that. And, you know, I just keep trying to add more and more to it to make it more useful for people. So if you are interested in learning more about chainmail or you're a veteran chainmail artist and just want to have a stash of resources, it's a great app to download. It is free, but there is also a link to my store. My store is mailworks.com. I design and sell chainmail themed apparel and accessories. And it's what gets purchased from my store helps to fund projects like this. So if you want to see me continue to do this, please go buy something. You've been thinking about getting into chain or scale? Is it crazy expensive as a hobby? I've been doing it for a long time. And so to get started, no. You can get started bare bones for pretty cheap, right? If you make your own first couple hundred rings. Getting into like higher quality rings can be more expensive, but it just depends on how polished you want to make whatever it is that you're making. So you can spend as much as you want, right? But to start out, these are a pair of pliers that I started with 30 years ago, 28 years ago. I don't want to say 30 years ago just yet. It makes me feel old. I do recommend investing. These are like $20 a pair. These are Xuron 483s. Good for 18 gauge wire and smaller. You don't need high-end pliers to make chainmail, but it definitely helps the further along you get. If you're thinking about getting into it, my suggestion is go to one of the chainmail suppliers listed in the Mailworks app, like We've Got Mail or Metal Designs or Chainmail Joe, and get a kit. Metal Designs and We've Got Mail have smaller kits, like a Byzantine bracelet, which is it's a pretty quick little kit, gives you a nice easy win. The kits from Chainmail Joe, you can get them in bright aluminum, like this cube, right? Or anodized aluminum, which I don't have an example of anodized aluminum in reach. It's rings with color, right? And the Chainmail Joe kits come in a pretty box with multiple ring sizes and a tutorial booklets, right? And they have the option to come with pliers or not. And they have a $50 option and a $100 option. And so I would honestly, if I were to just say, you know, how to get started, get a chainmail Joe kit, right? But, you know, it may be out of your price range, or you may want to start with something smaller. It's up to you. No idea kits existed. Do you hear you say you can make your own rings? You can make your own rings. Absolutely. Plenty of people do it, all right? When I first started out, before I knew anybody else who made chainmail, really, I made my own rings. And there are a couple hundred videos on YouTube of how to make your own chainmail rings. Now, the quality of ring you'll be able to make at home, right, will be determined by how much money you're willing to spend on your own setup, right? If you're cutting rings with bolt cutters like I did for like the first 10 years, 12 years of me making chainmail, the cuts are going to be pretty crappy, pretty visible. The rings won't close well. There'll be burrs, and so you can improve all of that with a tumbler, right? Tumble your rings, and they will polish themselves up, right? But you can make rings out of aluminum fence wire or galvanized fence wire from Lowe's. I recommend starting with aluminum. I don't like galvanized steel for anything. And, you know, that's one way to get started. You can make rings out of a brass coat hanger that you have in your house. You know, it's just taking the wire and wrapping it around a rod, making it into a coil and cutting it. But like I said, like the quality of those rings is going to be way far down the list, you know, as compared to what a lot of the chainmail suppliers can make, right? And you can do exactly what they do. It just depends on how much money you want to invest in your setup at home, right? Like I'm 28 years into this, and I will hopefully be getting a coiling and cutting setup so that I can saw cut rings at home, right? So I made my own rings for a long time. They were pretty crap. I started ordering rings. Most of them were pretty good. I made some really cool stuff. Now I'm at the point where I need a coiling and cutting setup to save on cost. So you don't have to order your own rings, but for starting out, the quality is just a lot higher. Does that make sense? I hope that made sense. That was kind of a long rant. But yeah, download the Mailworks app if you're getting started. Check out all the suppliers. Order yourself a kit. Get started there, right? YouTube videos on how to make your own rings at home. Practice with that. Yeah, you came in right at the 10. Yeah. Can I make you a jacket? No. I do not have time to take on a commission of that size right now. Sorry, Mr. P. In the future, hopefully by next year, I will be able to take on large commissions like that. Next 2 days, I'll catch me later. All right, Louie. Have a good night. If you see what I'm doing, you're like, oh, I like chainmail. I want to purchase something that's made from chainmail, like Mr. P asked me about a jacket. Inside the Mailworks app is a list of artists who make chainmail and take custom requests. I don't know of anybody who's going to be able to make a jacket, but you can go and ask for sure. There's a list of artists in there. They all have stock, and they all take custom requests, except for one. She just closed down her business, and I haven't removed her from the app yet, and that's Metalisa. So she just sold all her business stuff, so she's moved on to other stuff. So other than her, all the rest of them take requests. Astrid, who was in here earlier, is on there. Wayward and Whimsical, who's on TikTok, is on there. Jen Zimpetta from Zen Jumps Chainmail is on TikTok and listed on the app, right? If you want to get some custom chainmail made, download the Mailworks app and check out the artist section. If you want to see me make more stuff, help me fund projects by going to my website, mailworks.com, and downloading and ordering something off my website. I do actually. Wait, don't do that tonight. I am going to get a coupon code set up for everyone, so that you get a discount when you go and order something from there. So try and remember to do that tomorrow. Other than that, please go follow me on all of my other socials, because this is a risky business to be in right now with all the tumultuous times we're living in. So I don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next, but if you've stuck around this long, I greatly appreciate it, and I'd like to see you again. So with that, it is 10 o'clock. I have been weaving all day. I need to give my hands some rest. I need to relax before I go to bed. So you all have a wonderful evening. I'm going to get out of here. All right. Have a good night.